Study Arata. You certainly already know that it is impossible to learn anything without real effort. What may be confusing to you is the fact that maybe you have been studying, Mandarin or any other foreign language for several years, and even today you cannot honestly say that you are fluent or that you're even advanced. After such a long time, you continue on the basic level, so what's going on here? It is not enough to just dedicate several hours or even several years of your life trying to study if you are studying inefficiently and without a well-designed strategy. It is obvious that other people who study little, they will know very little. However, in your case, you have already studied a lot and you still know very little. The reason for this is a lack of a good strategy, and today I'll help you to start to have an optimized study strategy. These are not specific strategies for you to learn a specific language like Mandarin or Japanese or French. These are tips on a broader level for you to learn how to study better, how to master a language much faster. Persistence in the pursuit of any goal must be smart, and this means you need first to be very clear about what your goal is and identify the most efficient techniques to achieve that goal. You've got to have persistence, but smart persistence. There are several strategies for your learning, but none of them are as important as intelligent persistence. Intelligent persistence is to have an effective focus, to be focused on what is important. If you have decided to enroll in a school or a language course, be sure that you make the most of the time that you're paying for. It is important that the entire class is held in a language that you're trying to learn. Even if you cannot understand 100% of what the teacher is saying, if they are a good teacher, they will repeat, they will use gestures and body language to make sure that everyone is able to understand the main message of the class. And if you don't like your teacher, you can switch. If you don't like the methodology, you can change it. The choice of the language school is related to your motivation. We already talked about the importance of motivation in the episode 24 of the Study Arata series. You need to like the methodology, the materials, the teachers, otherwise you end up abandoning your learning project. Use the most appropriate applications for your needs. Different applications help with different goals, such as vocabulary building, pronunciation, listening, and interaction. Don't just stick to language courses. Nowadays, there are so many applications and tools that can help you to practice a new language. Many people use apps like Duolingo, for example, which is the more well-known, but in my opinion, it is not the best because there are several more specialized ones. All these apps are the results of years of experience studying the process of language learning. You can also take a look at those audio programs like Pimsleur, Michael Thomas, and podcasts. The advantage of these tools is that you don't have to be looking at study materials for the learning process. You can listen to them while you're cleaning your home or going to the gym or showering or doing other activities that don't require total concentration. If you have access to a library at your school or college, work, or even a public library, look for materials that can help you in your learning. In some of these places, in addition to dictionaries and books, they might even have some audio programs. If not, ask library staff if it is possible for you to place orders for purchase, because many of these libraries have a budget that is dedicated to acquiring new materials, new books, and that budget sometimes ends up not being used. Often because people simply don't place orders, they don't suggest purchases. And once you find a quality course, application, or material, it is important to have persistence to proceed. One of the main mistakes of those who start with these programs is the initial euphoria. The person is excited for a week or two, and then they give up. They start the search for a new app, the next new thing. So beware of this type of error. Whichever course, application, or method that you choose, remember that without intelligent persistence, none of them will lead you to master a language. Your experience with language learning also accelerates your studies, your learning. The more you practice, the easier it will become. If you have never studied a foreign language, I can tell you one thing. The first foreign language you try to learn will be the most difficult one. And this is because in addition to learning the language itself, you also be learning how to learn foreign languages. It is in this process that you will acquire the resources that will make learning your second foreign language much faster. You see, there are those who speak two languages, for example, and they find it easier to learn a third language. There are different types of techniques that can be reused in the learning process. The truth is that learning languages is a skill, and like any other skill, it can be trained, it can be perfected with practice. That is why Arata Academy now has a course just on that, which is how to speak languages. So never tell yourself that you don't have the talent to learn new languages. Don't make the mistake of believing that language learning is some innate talent, a gift that some people have, some people don't have, that they're born with. This is simply not true. Anyone can learn as long as they dedicate enough time, make the necessary effort, and they use the right materials. The results will depend on motivation, effort, and strategy that we're presenting here in this video. And an excellent way to accelerate your learning is to use advanced study techniques with flashcards. Flashcard methodology, for example, is one of the most powerful forms of learning, especially when you're trying to learn new vocabulary. It is essential that you take the time to acquire control over the use of flashcards. You can incorporate a review of these materials at any time of your day when you have just a few minutes available. The cool thing is that you don't need to have a long immersion session to study. If you just have 5 minutes while you're sitting around waiting for your turn to get a haircut, you can just enjoy that time by studying your flashcards. Realize that also we have the capacity to learn better when we group together similar concepts. Therefore, it is positive that you use logical terms in your flashcards. For example, objects in your room. You can list together the most used verbs at work or group a specific vocabulary for travel. You can add new vocabulary groups from time to time. And there are two important observations. The first one is that you have this thematic vocabulary practice. It cannot become tiring or boring. Otherwise, it can damage your motivation. The second observation is that you always need to be reviewing the vocabulary groups that you have learned before. Making flashcards is easy, and there are different apps and websites that can generate flashcards for you. If you have been studying languages for many years and you have never managed to get out of the basics, well, in your case, there is no lack of effort. Strategy is missing. That is why I invite you now to get to know the How to Speak Languages course by visiting arata.se/speak languages. You need to be very clear about your motivation and your goal to learn a new language. You will hardly be motivated to study and learn another language just because people say you need it. And when you find the strategies that work for you, remember to apply smart persistence so you don't give up halfway.